Hello and welcome everybody to class. Today we're going to do another video lecture, and today we're looking at the imperialism age of the United States of America. And a lot of people don't think that the United States was imperialistic at some point. That's just a tendency as Americans that we have. We don't want to believe that we were some huge empire that were terrible to other people that we conquered. So today is just going to be outlining a little bit of why Americans felt the way that they did and why they felt this need to expand to other regions of the world. If you need to pause, rewind, and go back at any point, please do so. And if you would like to start off on your guided note sheets that I've given you, there's this flashback section, and you need to answer that in your notes, or on your note sheet, I should say. In your own words, or from what we've learned thus far, I want you to define what is imperialism. Next, answer what regions were imperialized by America and the European nations in the 1800s. So which areas? And then finally, what were the effects of imperialism on the regions controlled? So those are all flashback items and things that we will be looking at also today. So what was the theory of manifest destiny? That's another question I'd like you to answer. What does it mean to you? And considering the idea of manifest destiny, how do you think the United States acted toward other countries in the late 1800s and early 1900s? And explain your thought. Some key ideas. Imperialism is the practice of stronger nations extending their control over weaker ones. America became imperialistic for economic, ideological, which is religious, and political military reasons. A shift towards expansion. The U.S. had become a successful industrial and agricultural nation, and the business leaders wanted the nation to look overseas for new markets. The national pride and theory of manifest destiny supported American expansion. And Teddy Roosevelt was the president who would push the U.S. to expand. And that's just kind of his personality. He's kind of a bully, so he thought, let's use our power and push through and get other nations for our own resource use. So a little bit about the United States history with imperialism. Throughout the 1800s, the U.S. continued to grow and develop across the continent. In 1867, William Seward, he wanted to purchase Alaska. This is kind of the first real big purchase you're starting to see. It was called Seward's Folly because they believed Alaska was nothing but an Arctic wasteland and would be useless to buy. In the later 1800s, gold, copper, coal, wildlife, and thick forest resources were found in Alaska, so that kind of validated the purchase, meaning that, you know what, maybe he didn't make a bad idea after all. Opposition. So not everyone was on board about this imperialism thing. There was opposition claiming it was contrary to American values. They suggested it was a contradiction to democracy because you're kind of limiting freedom. It would cause revolutions with other people in other countries and racial objections to non-white populations. They thought it was a racist thing to go out and conquer other countries that didn't want to be conquered, and we thought we were better than them because they were of a different culture or race. So some of the main reasons for imperialism. It was an economic interest. There was new markets, so people wanted to take advantage of it to keep up with the growing industry. The military and political needs, that we had military bases around the world to keep up and kind of observe what other places are doing. And also it has naval defense and trade setups along the way. Ideology, so basically a belief of human culture and religion. Some believed it was America's destiny to expand with a strong sense of nationalism, pride in your country. Some believed Americans to be socially superior and had duty to reform or recover these lost nations or third world countries that they thought weren't good enough and needed our help. And world competition. Nations of Europe had scrambled to control Africa and Asia throughout the 1800s. This leads to the impression that nations leading in imperialism were the most powerful and that everyone should do it. So which reason for imperialism does each statement support? William Seward. The land of the Alaskan Territory will provide us rich resources, fur, timber, and metals. Josiah Strong. The two great needs of mankind are, first, a pure spiritual Christianity, and second, civil liberty. So in your opinion, who is for expansion and imperialism and who is against it? So two political cartoons that you will need to analyze and answer questions for on your note sheet. The imperialism stunt, you can see that there's Teddy Roosevelt. He's kind of guarding the shorelines, and he's got ships going out into a different place, and it looks like Manila, which is in the Philippines. And then you have here, you have what the U.S. has fought for, and it has different racial groups, and they're all kind of exhibiting some form of slavery or oppression. And then you have your business leaders down this way from those certain regions. So it's interesting to make the comparison. Make sure you answer the questions that you need for your guided note sheet. You also need to analyze this political cartoon of the eagle, the overarching eagle over the world in the year 1898. Make sure you go through and answer the bullet point questions on your sheet. If you notice too in your guided notes, you have a map. There's two maps. There's a United States map and there's a world map. You need to go through and follow the directions that are going to be asked of you to color in this map. So it's going to ask you to label the United States and territories by 1900s. You just need to make sure that you color in what is already considered to be part of the United States, and then maybe shade something different for the ones that are considered to be just territories. Then the next map you're going to draw is for the United States, or sorry, on a world stage, and you're going to find the territories that the United States ends up getting during this time. You will also need to label the following nations in which the U.S. had influence in the late 1800s: China, Japan, and Mexico. So make sure you find those on your map and put them as labels. The effect of imperialism. It established the nation as an economic and industrial giant, made the nation known as a mediator in world affairs, and set the nation up with military bases around the world. The nations of Europe began to see America as an equal, no longer the new kid on the block. So we're starting to get more recognition and respect on a world stage. So today you can make kind of the parallel connection of how is the United States imperialistic in the modern world. Now, if you want to look at it through companies, you see a lot of companies like McDonald's and everything has expanded globally. If you want to look at our influences in other countries, we have allies in different countries, we have military bases in other countries. We're also fighting wars in other countries and trying to help people in those places. And we even try to set up their governments for them so that they can run efficiently. So it does show that we do have some type of imperialistic tendencies still. What you will need to do is write a paragraph in which you take a position on the overseas activities of the United States in modern times. Is the United States justified in its international involvements? Support your point of view with evidence from today's lesson. And your exit slip on your guided note sheet is going to be the following question. Did the goals of progressivism, so basically trying to make big changes in society, did that conflict with imperialism, the idea that we should expand to other countries and take them over? Explain your answer. That'll be the end of the lesson for today, so make sure you have it all done. You have your guided notes. You do some makeup work for Odyssey Wear, or if you have anything from the lecture from yesterday or video activity, please make sure you do that.